Wednesday, August 23rd, 2017, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I want to talk about something, a different subject than I cover usually. Usually just talk about the market, geopolitics, precious metals, but I want to cover a little bit what's going on politically in the US concerning, of course, President Trump and a speech he made yesterday in Phoenix, Arizona. And I found something really interesting here that seems to be going on. And it's very easy to figure out, why this is happening. And so the independent.co.uk is one of the broadsheets in the UK, independent newspaper. They're not independent, it's just the name. One of their articles today says, Donald Trump's fitness to lead in question after Phoenix rally, says former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. And it goes on to say, James Clapper says, President displays, and I quote, complete intellectual and moral and ethical void. So, I've listened to, well, actually I was listening to the Phoenix speech. I think I've gotten halfway through it. It's a long speech, 75 minutes. It's a huge rally. It reminded me of his rallies, in the run-up to the election last year. A lot of support. I didn't see anything morally, vacant about what he said. He did criticize the mainstream media, especially CNN. And frankly, I didn't see anything that he said that was, repugnant, like James Clapper is saying. And then you have another article in The Guardian, another UK newspaper, and theguardian.com, and it says, the article, it's all coming out today after this Phoenix rally. Ex-intelligence chief, Trump's access to nuclear codes is pretty damn scary, and I quote him. And it says, James Clapper questioned the U.S. president's fitness to be in this office after his speech in Phoenix, joining a growing chorus of alarm over his erratic behavior. And by the way, he slated CNN, and I don't blame him, because CNN is the fake news network, or the Clinton news network. I don't think I've watched that for many, many years, CNN. And the story, for example, in The Independent, talks about an interview that James Clapper had with Don Lemon of CNN. So you see CNN, James Clapper, and we'll get to James Clapper later on in this video, because I think he's a big swamp monster. James Clapper, former director of the NSA. I read here from The Guardian, it says, Donald Trump's access to the nuclear code is pretty damn scary, a former U.S. intelligence chief has said, calling Trump's rally in Arizona on Tuesday night disturbing. So you read the whole story, right? Just very critical of Trump. And it says, and also it says, in the wake of the Phoenix speech and Clapper's remarks, one of the bill's authors, the Congressman Ted Lieu, tweeted, freaked out yet, and called Congress to support the bill. Peter Westmacott, a former UK ambassador to Washington, said on Twitter that the rally shadowed shades of 1933 Germany. Crazy stuff. People, a lot of people out there, they read CNN, they listen to CNN, they read The Guardian, they read The Independent, and they actually don't go on YouTube and listen to Donald Trump's speech. This is completely, bogus. I've listened to Donald Trump's speech, and I'll put it up in the cards if you don't believe me. But the most interesting thing about all this brouhaha over a speech in Phoenix, especially by James Clapper, who's the former, and that word is important, former director. And why is he a former director? Well, because he resigned. And there's a very interesting story from November 17th, 2016 in U.S. News and World Report. They're mainstream, yeah? So on their website, the story reads, "Lock him up, ? Lawmakers renew calls for James Clapper perjury charges." So what's this all about? So let's go through the story. A story that, none of these publications, The Guardian or The Independent, mentioned this about James Clapper. Is a guy who potentially could go to jail, who committed a crime. So let's read about this story on U.S. News and World Report. And I'm not making this up. I'm going to put all the links for you below in the description to the Guardian story, to the Independent story, and to the usnews.com story. So it says here, some lawmakers reacted to the long-expected resignation announcement from Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. Yes, this is the same James Clapper who's saying that Donald Trump is unfit for office, right? The guy who had to resign on Thursday by wishing him an eventful retirement, featuring prosecution and possible prison time. I'm not saying this. This is from the article, and I'm reading here from U.S. News. It says, the passage of more than 3 years hasn't cooled the insistence in certain quarters that Clapper faced charges for an admittedly false statement to Congress in March 2013 when he responded, "No, sir," and not wittingly, to a question about whether the NSA was collecting any type of data at all on millions of Americans. And it goes on to say, about 3 months after making that claim, documents leaked by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden revealed the answer was untruthful. Even this U.S. News is using a euphemism, untruthful. They're not saying, the answer was a lie. They're saying it's untruthful, but it was a lie. If it's not true, it's a lie. And that the NSA was in fact collecting in bulk domestic call records along with various internet communications. To his critics, Clapper lied under oath, a crime that threatens effective oversight of the executive branch. In an apology letter to lawmakers, however, Clapper said he gave the clearly erroneous answer because he simply didn't think of the call record collection. Clapper later told MSNBC he considered the question akin to asking, "When did you start beating a wife?" And so he gave the least untruthful answer. There's no such thing as least untruthful. There's either the truth or a lie. There's nothing in between, Mr. Clapper. How can you come out and say that Donald Trump has no morals and is not fit to be president of the United States when you are, a liar? So it goes on to say, Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat, Oregon, who asked the question, rehashed the controversy in a statement Thursday, saying Clapper had presided over a deception spree regarding mass surveillance, and that Clapper's office had been given the question in advance and then was asked, without success, to correct the record after the hearing. So it goes on to say, no charges were filed against Clapper, but his critics say the incoming administration of President-elect Donald Trump could change that. Trump frequently rallied against a rigged system on the campaign trail, alleging powerful people such as Hillary Clinton, his Democratic rival, avoid criminal charges thanks to a corrupt legal system. And it goes on to say here, this is quoting a congressman from Texas. It goes on to say, no one is above the law. Officials who commit perjury or lie to Congress should be held accountable. Texas Republican Blake Farenthold told U.S. News by Mail. So I thought this was really interesting. I hadn't listened to this Trump speech from yesterday, but I'm seeing all these headlines, you know, in the Independent, in the Guardian, you know, saying, you know, comparing the speech to a Nuremberg trial, 1933. Then you get the ex-NSA director coming out saying he's scared of Trump having access to the nuclear button. He says Trump is not fit to be president. And then you find this story about the same guy who's got no credibility, who is probably doing this because he knows his ass is on the line and that he's going to be maybe prosecuted. I don't know. So I just wanted to put that story out there just to show you how, you know, you need to check all sides of the story. Don't just read the Independent and the Guardian or watch CNN and think, you know, this is the truth. It is partly true. I guess he can have his opinion that Trump is not fit. I guess that's his opinion. But then you gotta, you know, say who this guy is, James Clapper, how he had to resign in disgrace from being the director of the NSA. So shame on you, Independent. Shame on you, The Guardian. Not surprising. So sorry about the rant. It had to be done. I'm not saying that I think Donald Trump is doing a great job. To be truthful, I think it's all very confusing what's going on in the U.S. Politically. I think actually Donald Trump is very isolated. And he's probably finding it very difficult to get things done because there's so many forces above him, you know, trying to disrupt everything. They haven't let off one day since he became president, just, you know, criticizing anything he does. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.